Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's just finished at White Hart Lane. Tottenham 3, West Ham United 2. We were 5 minutes away from recording a victory at our last ever visit to our rivals. Tom, what's your initial feeling right now?
Obviously not going to swear, but yeah, I'm annoyed, but I'm in shock almost. I don't know how to react as to what the hell has just happened in the last 5 minutes of that game. We were on top. We were so comfortable, and we've cost us our own silly mistakes. I mean, same thing again, like always this season, our own mistakes. You know, we've set ourselves up there for downfall, and it's just we were shocking in those last 5 minutes. I don't know how a team can capitulate that much.
Okay, we'll get into the game. Charlie, how are you feeling? A bit more briefly, Tom. Are you angry? Are you disappointed? Are you upset? Are you
furious? Furious is the word I am. It is unbelievable. We were that close to getting a win against Tottenham. We should have. I'm not even going to lie about it. Usually, I'm happy to admit our faults, and we consistently concede goals that are our faults. But I'm going to say this, and I don't care who says whatever. Tottenham didn't deserve that. I'm pissed off about as pissed off as can be right now.
Well, what really annoys me is that we might as well have just scored own goals at the end there, and especially the third one. We might as well have just stuck it in the back of the net for them. It's not like we wanted to throw it away, but I think we did everything we could to almost give Tottenham the chance to snatch the win, and they took it. Let's go through the game, though. We started reasonably bright. We started on the front foot. Tottenham's Harry Winks shot wide. He must have had one of his eyes shut because it went quite far wide. You're all weak. Edison scored, but he was offside. Great pass by Eric Dyer. Then we had Ogbonna manhandling Kane, which we'll come on to later, but he did it in the first half. Bam! 1-0 West Ham. What did you make of that goal, Tom?
Great header from Kouyaté at first, I think it was. And then Antonio, right place at the right time. I think we said off camera in a chat, Charlie felt sorry for Ayew because it looked like he was about to tap it in. But Antonio, right place at the right time, and he does what he does best, gets his head in it, and we go 1-up. And we looked comfortable in that opening 25 minutes, and I think we were on top, and we were rewarded with a goal.
It was very West Ham, wasn't it, Tom, to go the season we've had so far, to go to White Hart Lane, and after half an hour or whatever, we go 1-up. It's very West Ham.
Yeah, it is. I was expecting potentially a demolition job today, but no, it was a really good opening 30 minutes. It was, we actually looked positive and good going forward and good at the back. It's just a shame, I guess, from what's happened from there on out.
Charlie, what was your thought on the goal? Because as Tom's kind of giving it away there, you, not immediately, but you had hinted that you felt a little bit sorry for his teammate.
Yeah, Ayew was standing there. The ball was coming directly towards his head. If he had missed that, I probably would have said some very mean words about him. But you can't complain. Antonio put the ball in the net. I like the thing that BT Sports said about Antonio being if he was his own team, he would be the third most headed goals scored in 2016. Like, the boy just cannot stop scoring with his head. And it's his movement. His movement is unbelievable in the box. And part of why I didn't want him to play up front was because I thought that would mean he could stop making those late runs, because no defender seems to know how to deal with it. It's unbelievable.
What I will say about Ayew, though, is for all we know, Antonio's got his name on that as soon as it's come off Winston Reid's boot. And Ayew's kind of thought, right, okay, I'm just not going to get in the way. But also, if that hasn't happened, what I will say is Ayew should be the one that's running at it and getting his head on it rather than standing there at the back post waiting for it to come onto his head. He should have. Okay, it could have ended up with a clash of our two players and the ball ended up going out for a goal kick. But if he has just stood there, you make your own luck a little bit. And Ayew is someone we'll talk about. And I think that is a symbol of what Ayew could have done a little bit more of in the game, I guess. Half-time went in 1-0 up. Now, I thought we should have made a sub at half-time. It is on our forum at hammerschat.com. You're thinking, yeah, very good in hindsight. I put it up at half-time because I thought I need a bit of evidence here. Charlie, were you thinking we should have done a substitute at half-time, or were you happy that Bilic left it?
Obviously it's easy to say don't make a sub because we were in the lead, but sometimes when you're in charge, you have to make the changes. There's people like Ferguson and all that, when they talk about being in the lead in the Premier League, you adapt when you're still ahead, when you're still winning. Then teams can't adapt to you. And it's been a sort of consistent thing we've had with Slav, where he waits a little bit too long to make the substitutions, and then the team just adapt. Tottenham were never going to continue playing how they were in the first half. They were always going to come back in the second half and really push us. And in that first 10-minute period, when the teams came back out, Tottenham looked exactly like they did in the first 10 minutes of the actual game. They looked really good and looked like the much better side, and we looked completely incapable. We should have made the substitution.
Tom, I did a review with Charlie for the Everton game when we went in 0-0 at half time, and we were saying that Slav should have done a sub. And even though we played well, I said the reason I thought Slav should have done a sub is Koeman knew exactly what we were doing in the first half, and he was going to change his team to combat it, and Slav should have changed it. So when Tottenham came out expecting something from West Ham, they had something different in front of them. And I just think that's where Bilic just let us down a bit today at half time. Tom, am I being harsh, or is that fair?
It's maybe slightly harsh. I don't know. The only reason I say it was slightly harsh is because sometimes, we have looked nervy at the back, and maybe we've scored a lucky goal. I'm thinking today we generally looked solid. I think Reed, Ogbonna, well, probably not Ogbonna, but Reed and Kouyaté were fantastic back there. And personally, I don't think I would have made a change at half time. Maybe obviously,
but you just said the players you've just pointed out for being good as defenders. Does that not tell you something? Sakho's blowing out his arse. I mean, it's not his fault. The bloke's not played all season. But at half time, we've got a striker who's blowing out his arse who could barely shift towards the end of the first half. He looked knackered. Apart
from Sakho, which I would have probably come on to in a second. Apart from Sakho, really, I don't know why he started today. I don't think he was fit enough to start. I don't think you can just chuck him straight back in after having no game time whatsoever this year. And I thought Zaza should have come on, maybe at half time, or maybe even 5 minutes into the second half, because I actually thought he looked good today. I'm sure he'll be used as, Zaza was crap again. But I thought he played a lot better than when he came on for Sakho. I think he played much better than Sakho. Sakho was just isolated for the 60 minutes that he played. And in hindsight, probably should have come off at half time.
Do you not think, though, Charlie, Tom's saying we were playing well there. Do you not think we were riding our luck a bit in the first half? Because I thought we were playing okay, maybe great. I wouldn't say we were exceptional. I think we were sitting, almost asking for trouble a little bit. We were sitting back. But their goal was coming. Do any of you feel like we were going to hold out for 1-0?
I feel like, although I agree with what Tom's saying a little bit, but I think our best performances last year when we went away to these teams was getting an early goal and then sitting back and letting them come on to us. And in the first half, we looked a lot better when we were the team sitting, when they were coming towards us, not when we were running backwards. When we were running backwards, we looked at odds and ends. Eriksen was getting in behind us, got a disallowed goal. Eric Dyer's long balls were causing us all sorts of trouble. Whereas when we were in the lead and we had the luxury of sitting back and relaxing a little bit, we looked a lot better. Now, as I said, Tottenham were going to change at half time regardless. They were not going to come out and struggle as much as they were in that first half. But we were asking for it to a sense, but I also think that was probably our best tactic. I think as soon as we started to push forward and as soon as our backline went slightly further forward, they started doing it again, and that was the problem for me tonight. I think.
Well, I thought it was coming, and eventually it did. It's the first Premier League start for Tottenham. It was going to happen. Harry Winks. Lad had a good game. I thought he was their best player. Not much. Anything we could have done about that, Tom? Ogbonna, what's he doing? He lost in the middle of the park, and then talk us through your thoughts of the equalizer.
Yeah, caught in the middle of the park. I think Randolph, obviously, it's quite close to him. He's had to make the best save he can do, and he even nearly got to Harry Winks' equaliser. He did get his hands onto the ball. Take nothing away, Harry Winks, I thought, like you said, I think they was their best player on the park today. Maybe a slight hint of handball from Janssen in the box, but again, a costly mistake from Ogbonna getting caught out, and
And Antonio, would it be harsh to criticise Antonio? A dummy by Rose, and he jumps in the air and turns his back. Do you
know what, though? There was so many times this afternoon where Antonio was biting on Rose's little dummy fakes just to get him up in the air or just to get him moving. And it probably potentially could be partially Antonio's fault, but he was culpable of that numerous times this afternoon. Just poor from us, and we could have easily avoided that goal. Although to add to that, I do think that Spurs were going to press for an equaliser. I did not, by any stretch of imagination, think we could win that 1-0. I did think that they had an equaliser coming. It was just a question of how long it was going to take, really.
Charlie, what was your thoughts on the first one? Do you think maybe we're being harsh on Antonio? Do you think maybe Bullet should have played Fernandes at right wing back? Because everyone knows Rose is one of the best attacking left backs in the league, and we put someone at right wing back who's not very good at defending. And surely it was only a matter of time until Antonio let him in at some point.
Possibly, but I feel like you can blame Opona for a lot of 2 goals. I feel like, how many times this season is it going to happen where we are at fault for our own goals? How many times? It has happened almost it's pissing me off because it's happening so often. Harry Winks was stood in, the biggest problem for me is Harry Winks is stood and is open to tap the ball into the net. There is a player who has looked lively throughout the entire game. At half-time, Bilic would have gone in and said, that kid's looking decent. That kid is looking decent. And what's happened? The ball comes into the box. Antonio's got tricked quite easily, but whatever. Ball gets into the box. He's completely open.
But I think Charlie, I think Czech Chiati leaves that little area and moves out to help Antonio, which allows that gap for Winks to move into. I think that's where Czech would have been had Antonio not jumped.
There's 3 centre-backs. One of them should be next to him. One of them. 3. There's 3 centre-backs.
At this point in time, though, there's still 2 strikers on the pitch, and we've just said that one of the centre-backs has gone out, so that there's only 2 centre-backs left. But I get what you're saying, and we'll talk about individual performances later, and we'll move on. Janssen then pulls down Winston Reid from a corner, penalty, Lanzini tucks away, beautiful penalty by Lanzini, bang, 2-1 West Ham. We're not going to go into that for a reason. But what will I say, fun fact, we targeted Janssen in the summer and we never got him, but he has actually contributed to more West Ham United goals than any of our strikers so far this season. 1 assist was a target, Janssen. I think Tom's frozen there a little bit. Tom, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Right, Tom, what did you make of the subs? Nordveit then came on for Dimitri Payet. We obviously clearly thought, right, let's reverse right back into our own 18-yard line. What were you thinking about that?
I don't think Payet should have come off. I think he should have just stayed how it was. I think sometimes taking an attacking player off like that, it can potentially negatively affect you. Nordveit's got to come into a game where Spurs are on the attack and he may not be up to the pace of the game straight away. I thought he really should have just left it how it was, because then if they do go back to 2-2 or 3-2, well, all of a sudden our attacking players are off the pitch. We were down to just sort of Lanzini trying to create stuff in the end. I thought Zaza was absolutely fine. However, yes, he should have squared the ball and wrapped it up at 3-1 to Payet about 2 seconds earlier than he did. And obviously Ayew came off as well, which was fine because we know that Fernandes is bright and lively. But I don't know why he's brought Nordveit on towards the end there. I just think he should have left it. The way that the game was settled, and you've brought someone in who isn't up to the pace and the brute, toughness of that game at the time, and he should have just left it, because it clearly showed that he wasn't up to that pace, because Son came straight into the box, turned him and fouled him.
Well, what Will also says, I thought Payet looked dangerous. When it was 2-1, the space was opening up when we were rarely counter-attacking. But I thought Payet and Zaza was linking up really well, and I thought these two are going to create a goal here. There's 2 or 3 times. And okay, one of them would let it down, usually Zaza. But I thought these 2 are linking up good here. They're both quite quick. They're not fast, but they're reasonably quick. Vertonghen is not the fastest centre-back either. I thought this is looking good. Charlie, bang, 2-2. Son goes to the byline, whips it across. Randolph flicks it with his hand straight into Harry Kane. 16 goals and 16 London derbies for him. Thoughts?
It's more lucky than anything else, and I don't want to. Again, I am the first person to admit when the other team deserve the win. Even if we win, I will say they deserve the win if they do. Harry Kane, the luck that man has to be stood in that exact position when Randolph gets a hand to it but can't keep it. It's pushed directly into his path. Again, open, and he just passes it into. It's so. I'm not.
Is it luck, or is that what a good striker is?
No, a good striker wants to get into good positions, but a good striker can't anticipate the ball being pushed directly at his feet at that exact moment in time at that pace. I will say,
I disagree a bit. I think a good striker anticipates the fact that someone's that cutback's come in, And if Randolph doesn't touch it, okay, Bonner's there, but he's still got a decent chance of getting it. And I think he has to anticipate a defender getting a little touch on it, and he's there. And that's why I think he's so prolific. But do you think the problem lies with the fact that the cross came in the first place? I mean, Czechia and Antonio are out there with him. Surely one of them should be blocking that. He should not be getting that cross in.
Yeah, they shouldn't have got as many crosses as they did in. It was a consistent theme, but that's what happens when you have wing backs. There's space to exploit, and Antonio isn't the best defensive player, as we all know. So it was bound to happen. I'm angry. Can you tell? Yeah. So.
Well, I'm going to get even more angry because Charlie, just moments later, it was 3-2 Nordveit. Right, what is Nordveit doing here, Charlie? Why is he even making this tackle? What is he actually trying to do?
I don't know. I've been a consistent person who has asked for him to be in the team. I think there's more for him to give, but he's not helped himself at all. That was terrible. There was no. If he just stands up, he can probably stop whatever's happening there. And I think the pressure got to him specifically because he just lunged in to try and stop whatever it was he was doing. I don't know what he's doing, and Son shifts the ball to his right foot. It rolls away. His left foot is planted there. His trailing foot connects. Done. Penalty. And it's stonewall. It's stupid. He should have stayed up. He should have stood on his feet. He should have stood up, Son, and he probably would have been able to stop it. But the pressure's got to him, and he's done something ridiculous and dumb. And it's another mistake from us to give them a goal.
Yeah, well, Winston Reid was sent off in the last minute for a second yellow card. But let's finish talking about the game now. But let's talk about the game in more general. We'll talk about one or two individual players. Tom, where's it gone wrong? We're 2-1 up. We were 1-0 up and it was 1-1. We're 2-1 up and we've lost 3-2. Where's it gone wrong? Who are you blaming?
Bilic. Partly Bilic. I don't think he should have made the substitution for Nordveit. Like I said, the reason why he's done that, like Charlie said, yeah, he's under pressure, he's panicked, but it's because he's not up to the speed of the game. He should not have brought him on. Everything was absolutely fine. He did not need to change anything going into those last few minutes. And it's just, we've just hit self-destruct button, and it's just so, I don't know how, it's just so irritating to see, because we could have easily hung on for those 3 points there at the end, and we've just bottled it. And I genuinely think the blame has to lie with Bilic after this performance. And I don't think, I'm not saying Bilic out or Bilic this. I didn't do the same for Sam Allardyce. Whatever happens, happens. But you have to sort of think, right, well, it's now nearly Christmas and we are 1 point above the relegation zone going into the worst stretch of games we have for the season. And me personally, I don't think he'll last the week. I just don't. And especially if something happens at Man United next weekend, he will be gone. And as for the game today, I do blame him for this, for the tactics side. But we just literally hit the self-destruct button as soon as that second went in. It's a demoralising loss, because you've now got to go to Man United at home twice in a few days, and it's absolutely just shocking, disgusting loss.
Charlie, what's your thoughts? Where did it go wrong for us? Who are you blaming?
Everyone. A team should not capitulate like that. This has gone from what should have and could have been our biggest win, our most moral boosting win we could have had this season, going away to a London rival and beating them deservedly. And we've gone from that within about 5 minutes of play to losing 3-2. It's a ridiculous situation, and we can't hold it together. We just cannot hold it together as a team, and every single person is to blame from the top downwards. I could pick out specific players. I think Ogbonna was awful. I think all of these things played into it, but I think ultimately the entire team is to blame for that, because together and they capitulated like a West Ham team used to.
Well, all 3 goals came down our right-hand side where Antonio was playing right wing back. Now, whether Antonio's to blame individually or not, the point is we gave Spurs a weak spot. As soon as Antonio was named right wing back, Pochettino had a weak spot to aim for. And like I said, I'm not necessarily saying Antonio was to blame for all that, but you gave Pochettino an Achilles heel and said, here's our Achilles heel. And it worked. All 3 goals came from there. However, saying that, I find it hard to blame Bilic too much for this one, because the last goal was a stupid individual error by Nordveit, and I get what Tom's saying, but up to the speed of the game or not, you don't go flying in like that. And he's on the edge of the 18-yard. He's not going to score from there. Granted, he's going to cross it, but if he does cross it, someone else has got a job to do to clear it. It goes over to your teammates. You're passing buckle, but don't fly in like that. It's ridiculous. Yes, Tom.
Do you know what though? I think also it's I mean, Bilic takes some of the blame. The players for individual performances have to take the blame, but the players we're bringing on, these are supposed to be our fantastic signings that we made in the summer that are going to take us to the next level. So the board equally have to take part of the blame for this, because I've just seen, because I've got the live chat open. I know Charlie has just put, as in Roxburgh, has put in the chat and said, look at our bench, because what do we have to bring on from these summer signings? And it's just, I don't rate anybody that we've signed. We can't count on anybody other than Ayew, who I'm still waiting that hopefully develops. This is the club that we are now. These are the signings that you've made, and I also think, like I said, the board have to take a massive hit and blame for this, because this is what you've gone out and you've bought us, and I don't know. It's frustrating.
I think it's a bit difficult to blame the bench. I mean, if you ask most West Ham fans in May next season, you'll be as subs, you're going to be bringing on Nordveit, which let's be fair, everyone in the summer thought this was a fantastic signing, but Borussia Mönchengladbach's captain on a free. No one was really complaining about that. You would bring on Zaza. Now, some people were half and half about that, and everyone would have expected there to be a £25 million striker on the pitch for Zaza to come on and replace, okay? But you would have probably accepted Zaza as the second choice striker. And the other sub that we brought on, Fernandes, while I may don't know much about him, he's probably one of the best players. I think it's a bit harsh playing summer signings on this game. I get what you're saying overall of the season, but I just don't get some of the things that's happened today. You two are saying that Spurs didn't deserve that. I'm not saying Spurs deserve the win. I'm not convinced we deserved the win. I am not convinced we deserved it. I struggle to remember a shot on target we had, apart from Zaza's couple of team efforts. It is hard to judge because the way the game worked out, we end up sitting back, etc., etc. And I'm not saying we played poor. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Spurs. I think a draw would have been a fair result. I'm just not convinced that we did enough to win it either. When we took the lead at 2-1, I thought we're mucking these off right now. I thought we don't deserve to be winning 2-1. I don't think we would have scored. If it wasn't for that pen, I'm not convinced we would have scored again in that game. We just lack.
It's like everything right now.
It's like stuff going forward.
This is the thing. Everyone blames the summer signings and whatever. I refuse to blame them, because I think all the players who were playing amazingly last season, where have they all gone? They have disappeared. They have vanished into thin air. We've had all of last season, the majority of the team who were out there on the pitch were on the pitch last season, and they were playing fantastically. We were taking chances probably more than we should have last season. We were utilising everything we had, and they were amazing. And in this season, we've turned up, and everyone as a team have just disappeared. They have all played horrendously. It's really easy to look at people like Feghouli, Nordveit, and be like, where have you been? Why haven't you been playing well? But no one's been playing well. And this is the biggest problem we have, in my opinion, is that the people who we should have been able to rely on to play brilliantly this season just haven't. And that's a huge, huge problem.
See,
I have to agree. Sorry, Tom, we're going to have to move on, otherwise we're going to be here all night. But what I will just finally say to Charlie is I totally agree with you. And the fact that our best player this season so far, Obiang, wasn't even in the team last season is worrying. Tom, who played well for you today? I mean, let's be fair. Let's try and inject a little bit of positivity. While we've got beaten, we're all angry, etc. There must have been one or two players out there you thought, you know what, you son, you can walk off there with your head held high, your teammates let you down individually.
Winston Reid. I think he had an absolutely fantastic performance today. Obviously, you could clearly see his frustration in the end with getting sent off, but I think that's more to the fact that his team capitulated around him, and I thought Obiang played well as well at points today. I thought he did have another good game, but I just think we were literally, as the commentators were saying, in 88th minute, Reid, man of the match performance, heading for the win, and it's just all gone wrong. And I think Winston Reid was the best player on that pitch from both teams. He was absolutely standout by far.
Charlie, any agreements or disagreements with what Tom said? I agree with him. I'm not going to add to that.
Yeah, I agree with him. The other person I will say is Darren Randolph. I think he's been sold down the river by his defender, by everyone in front of him today. I've been someone who has consistently said that I want Adrian in the team instead of Randolph. But some of those blank saves today, that one especially was with, I don't even know if it was his foot of his hand. It happened so quickly, I still don't know. Was unbelievable. He has changed my mind today. I've converted into someone who thinks Randolph should be a first starter without any hesitation or doubt now today.
Charlie is a convert. I'll get the final word from these two in a minute, but you guys at home, make sure you subscribe while you're here. Gonzo was at the game today, and he has filmed a vlog. He's filmed a vlog from outside the ground, all the singing, etc. And you'll see the reactions of people in the stand from going 2-1 up to 3-2 down, and you'll see and hear people. That'll be on the channel on Sunday night. So if you're watching this after Sunday, make sure you check it out. And if you're watching before Sunday, pop back and do check it. And make sure you give us your view in the comments below and on the forum at hammerschat.com. Charlie, before we disappear, any final words you would like to say that we haven't covered off, etc.?
Yeah, I think Harry Winks deserves a shout out. Premier League debut, played really well. Didn't look out of place. I've given that he played really well. And yeah, officially a convert for the first time ever. So big shout out to Dazza as well. Yeah,
and Tom, before you, I'm not going to get your final word because I've got a question here I totally forgot. So I'll throw this one to you before we leave. Ogbonna, how close is he away to giving a penalty away? I think, considering we got a penalty for this, straight up the other end, he was wrestling Harry Kane about in the middle of the box again. He did it in the first half and got off with it. And then in the second half, he did it again. Something to clamp it down on. Can you see this happening soon?
Yeah, but you know what? It only really seems to be Mike Dean that's actually clamping down on it. You know, I've seen him more than other refs willing to give stuff like this. And fair enough, he gave the one for Winston Reid. But I thought the first one was more of a penalty on Kane than the second one was. But equally, the second one also looked like a penalty. Do you know what? Ogbonna does this time and time again. He is so hands-on in the box. And he's so close every week to giving away a penalty. And it is just... It's so frustrating how long it's going to take to get it into his skull that he can't, especially with a referee like Mike Dean, who both players as sets of teams will be aware that he's given 7, 8, 9, now 9 penalties this season for this stuff. You just got to have your head screwed on, just be a bit more sensible. But the only, I'll add one final thing, which is literally just, you know, this really, we have to be so careful now because the run we've got is absolutely disgusting. And you could get yourself on such a bad streak running into that busy Christmas period and we could find ourselves in a dogfight in January, and by January we could have no manager. Payet could quite easily go. Toure, Zaza, these players, they want no part of it anymore and they decide to go out, and we could be in a relegation fight for the rest of the season. And it's just, you know, but so what? I guess, you know, we get back up on the horse. Manchester twice, I'll be there. I can't wait just to get drunk and just enjoy watching us lose again. But yeah, absolutely shocking performance today in the last 5 minutes, but there we go.
Well, it looked like we were heading for 3 points at the Lane in our last ever visit there, moving up to a heighty 12th in the league. However, we collapsed in the last few minutes, lost 3-2, and now we're looking over our shoulders as Swansea got a point earlier on at Goodison Park. Teams at the bottom below us are starting to pick up wins. Sunderland won 3-0 today. So we'll be back with a preview next week as we'll be looking ahead to our visit to Old Trafford in the league before we play them in the cup. And we will really be questioning, are we in a relegation battle? Is Bilic really in trouble? So let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Come on to the forum. That's been Charlie, that's been Tom, I've been Gio. We're all a bit disappointed, a bit pissed off and a bit... But after all, it's West Ham.